Kimmi Scott has always been the calm in the middle of the storm, the voice of reason when everyone else was at war. But now, for the first time ever, that calm has completely shattered. Her breaking point isn't about her health, it isn't just about her marriage, it's the relentless feud between Melody and LaTisha that has pushed her to tears. And the truth behind this emotional collapse will not only shock you, it will forever change the way you see the entire cast of Love and Marriage, Huntsville. Kimmi Scott has finally hit her breaking point, and, this time, it's not just about her personal struggles or her marriage. What has pushed her to tears is the unrelenting feud between Melody Holt and LaTisha Scott, a conflict that has stretched on 4 years and now threatens to consume everyone around them. Fans are left wondering, how much more can Kimmi endure before she walks away? What unfolded behind closed doors that left her so shaken? And why has this battle pulled her in deeper than ever before? The answers may forever change the way viewers see the cast of Love and Marriage, Huntsville. For anyone who has followed the series, the Melody-LaTisha drama is nothing new. It's been one of the show's longest-running conflicts, marked by accusations, insults, and countless confrontations. But somewhere along the way, Kimmi, who had always been the steady, level-headed presence on screen, got dragged into the crossfire. She was the peacemaker, the one urging calm, while others clashed. Yet even the strongest shoulders can only carry so much. Now, for the first time, audiences are witnessing Kimmi's own vulnerability, exhausted, drained, and overwhelmed by a cycle of chaos she never signed up for. So how did things unravel to this point? To understand Kimmi's emotional unraveling, we need to revisit the origins of the Holt-Scott feud that has rippled through the cast since day one. When the show first premiered, fans were introduced to ambitious couples with big personalities and even bigger dreams. At first, Melody and LaTisha looked like they could have been Alice-driven women, balancing family, business, and ambition. But beneath the surface, cracks began forming. And it didn't take long for those cracks to split wide open. The tension between them first flared when Melody hinted at rumors of infidelity surrounding LaTisha's husband, Marsa Scott. That single suggestion was enough to spark a wildfire of distrust. From there, what little friendship they had began to collapse. Melody believed LaTisha minimized her pain during her divorce from Martell Holt, while LaTisha accused Melody of arrogance and tearing others down to build herself up. Each new season brought more conflict, fresh insults, and deeper resentment, making their feud one of the most toxic storylines on the show. The damage, however, didn't stay confined to just the two of them. Their issues spilled into their families, their friendships, and eventually, the entire cast. That's when Kimmi found herself in an impossible situation. Married to Morris Scott, Marsa's brother, she was connected to LaTisha by family but also shared a genuine friendship with Melody. How could she remain loyal to her husband and in-laws while still supporting Melody? It was a balancing act no one could sustain. And the strain on Kimmi became increasingly obvious to fans. Kimmi's challenge wasn't just about choosing sides. It was about being trapped in a storm she wanted no part of. Unlike Melody and LaTisha, she isn't wired for confrontation. Kimmi has always valued peace, maturity, and keeping the drama at bay. But despite her efforts, both women have questioned her loyalty. Melody has wondered why Kimmi hasn't defended her more fiercely, while LaTisha has accused her of failing to show family solidarity. No matter how hard she tries, Kimmi ends up caught in the middle, accused of not doing enough for either side, and now, after years of carrying that burden, the toll is showing. Viewers have seen Kimmi's emotional cracks not because of her own battles, but because she's been stuck in the crossfire of a feud that refuses to end. What makes this even more heartbreaking is that her breakdown isn't just about arguments. In the past, it's about the deeper, personal cost of constantly being expected to hold everyone else together while her own well-being slips further away. Her core. Kimmi has always been the voice of reason, the calm in the storm. But being the peacemaker is also the hardest role to play, especially when those around you thrive on conflict. With two strong personalities like Melody and LaTisha constantly clashing, throwing shade, questioning loyalty, and airing grievance, was inevitable that Kimmi would be dragged into the middle. Her ties to Morris and the Scott family place her squarely on one side, while her history with Melody ties her to the other. It's a no-win situation, and the emotional weight of living in that tug-of-war has finally caught up to her. No matter what she does, Kimmi can't win. To LaTisha, she isn't loyal enough as a sister-in-law. To Melody, she isn't supportive enough as a friend. And in trying to maintain peace, Kimmi has found herself carrying the heaviest burden of all, the cost of a feud that was never hers to begin with. For Kimmi Scott, the role of peacemaker has become less of a blessing and more of a heavy burden. People often forget that she isn't just a reality TV figure, she's a wife, a mother, and a woman who has already faced deeply personal struggles, including a public battle with her health. While balancing all of that, she has continually been pulled into conflicts that aren't even her own. Imagine the exhaustion of never being allowed to simply exist without being dragged into someone else's war. Fans have long admired how calm and composed Kimmi appears compared to others, but what many are now realizing is that calm doesn't equal unaffected. Often, it's the ones who work hardest to hold everyone else together who suffer the most silently, and in Kimmi's case, that silence has now broken into tears. Her recent breakdown was proof that the pressure finally boiled over. After years of trying to stay neutral, seasons of defending her objectivity, and endless moments of being pulled in opposite directions, Kimmi's emotions spilled out in front of the cameras. What made it even more heartbreaking is that fans weren't shocked, they saw it coming. With how stretched thin she's been, and how often her patience has been tested, it felt inevitable that her carefully guarded composure would eventually crack. The real question was, what finally pushed her over the edge? Was it another blow-up between Melody and LaTisha? A cutting remark that hit too close to home? Or was it something deeper, something Kimmi had been holding inside all along? Reality TV thrives on drama, but every so often, there are moments that cut through the noise and remind audiences that what they're watching involves real people with real emotions. For Kimmi, that moment arrived when she simply couldn't carry the weight any longer. In the middle of yet another tense exchange involving Melody and LaTisha, her composure slipped. Cameras captured her voice trembling, her eyes filling with tears, and her struggle to find the words. After years of being the rational, steady presence, she finally let the world see the vulnerability she had hidden for so long. Kimmi admitted what many viewers had suspected, that being caught between Melody and LaTisha wasn't just frustrating, it was emotionally draining. No matter how hard she tried to remain neutral, both women pulled her in opposite directions, each demanding loyalty and bristling when she didn't choose them. For someone who values peace above all else, that constant tension was unbearable. Yet what made the moment so powerful wasn't the words she spoke, but the raw honesty in how she said them. There was no shouting match, no performance for the cameras. It was just truth, a woman at her breaking point, acknowledging the loneliness, pressure, and pain of being forced into battles that weren't hers to fight. The reaction from fans was immediate. Many admitted they were heartbroken watching Kimmi cry because it reminded them of their own struggles mediating family or friends. Others expressed frustration, not at Kimmi, but at Melody and LaTisha for failing to see the toll their feud was taking on someone else. What struck people most was how rare it was to see Kimmi unravel this way. For so long, she had kept her emotions controlled, refusing to let the drama define her. That's why this breakdown hit harder than anything else. It wasn't just reality TV. It was a raw glimpse into the cost of constant conflict on someone's spirit. And layered beneath all of this was something even more painful: Kimmi's ongoing health battle. On its own, that journey would be enough to overwhelm anyone. Add to it the emotional strain of Melody and LaTisha's endless war, and it becomes clear why she finally reached her breaking point. Her tears reminded viewers of a truth often forgotten in reality TV, that behind the storylines are real people dealing with very real challenges. For Kimmi, the cost of peacekeeping wasn't just frustration, it was exhaustion, vulnerability, and a public breakdown in front of millions. But here's the twist. While some may have seen her tears as weakness, many fans recognized them as strength. Because sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is admit they're not okay. And yet, that moment of vulnerability opened up an even bigger question. What happens next? Would Melody and LaTisha finally recognize the damage their feud was causing? Or would Kimmi's pain be brushed aside as just another dramatic moment in their ongoing saga? When Kimmi broke down, the ripple effect was immediate. The energy in the room shifted. For once, the usual back and forth came to a pause. And both Melody and LaTisha were forced to face the reality of how their feud was affecting someone they both claimed to care about. Melody, who had been through her own public heartbreak, appeared genuinely taken aback. Viewers noticed her face soften, almost as though she realized, this isn't about us anymore, this is about Kimmi, and she's hurting. LaTisha, meanwhile, showed a more complicated reaction. Though she has always insisted she never wanted Kimmi stuck in the middle, it became obvious that her expectations, spoken or unspoken, had placed a heavy weight on Kimmi too. Fans debated whether LaTisha's concern was genuine or overshadowed by her need to defend her side. What's undeniable, though, is that neither Melody nor LaTisha made any lasting changes. They expressed sympathy in the moment, but as episodes continued, the familiar cycle of shade, tension, and hostility returned. And that, perhaps, was the most frustrating part for viewers. On social media, fans voiced their anger and sadness. One wrote, "Watching Kimmi cry broke me. These women need to realize they're destroying friendships, not just filming TV." Another said, "If Melody and LaTisha truly cared about Kimmi, they'd put their pride aside and end this feud." Others took a wider view, arguing that Kimmi's breakdown highlighted a bigger problem with reality TV itself: how constant conflict becomes entertainment, even when it's visibly damaging the people living through it. Some viewers even speculated that producers deliberately placed Kimmi in the crossfire, fully aware that her role as the peacemaker would eventually collapse under the strain. Whether or not that's true, the most telling response came from Kimmi herself. In later interviews, she admitted that rewatching her breakdown was painful but also strangely liberating. For once, she wasn't trying to patch things up or hold everyone together. She wasn't the glue, the fixer, or the calm voice of reason. She was just honest, and that honesty resonated with fans more deeply than any staged argument ever could. Her tears also exposed something greater: the fragility of the group's friendships. If Kimmi, arguably the most neutral, balanced person in the cast, couldn't keep peace between Melody and LaTisha, what did that mean for the rest of them? Was the divide simply too wide to ever close? Or was this the wake-up call they all desperately needed? The moment was powerful, but it also left viewers with unease. Some questioned whether Melody and LaTisha truly understood how much their feud was costing the people around them. Others feared that Kimmi's vulnerability could make her an easy target, handing both sides fresh ammunition to use against her. And yet, the numbers told their own story. The episodes surrounding Kimmi's breakdown drew a noticeable ratings spike. It was proof that audiences are not only hooked by conflict, but deeply moved by authenticity. The raw, human moments, unscripted, unpolished, and undeniably what keep people tuning in week after week. Kimmi's tears reminded everyone that beneath the drama, these are lives unfolding in real time, with consequences that linger long after the cameras stop rolling. But where does that leave things now? Did Kimmi's emotional collapse mark a turning point in the feud, or was it just another chapter in a cycle that never ends? And perhaps more importantly, what did it reveal about her relationships with both Melody and LaTisha? The truth is, Kimmi's breakdown wasn't just a personal release, it was a reflection of something much bigger. Reality TV feeds on conflict, because tension drives ratings. Producers know this, viewers, consciously or not, expect it. And that's why Melody and LaTisha's feud has been stretched season after season. But Kimmi's moment drew a hard line in the sand. At what point does entertainment cross into emotional harm? For years, Kimmi has been the one smoothing disagreements, bridging divides, and holding friendships together when everything else was falling apart. But her collapse revealed what many overlooked: that even the strongest peacemakers eventually break. This isn't just about Melody and LaTisha anymore. It raises uncomfortable questions for all of us as viewers. At what cost do we consume this drama? Is it fair to expect one person to bear the weight of everyone else's battles simply for our entertainment? Fans have been vocal about this dilemma. Some applauded Kimmi for showing her raw side, saying it humanized her more than any scripted storyline ever could. Others argued that producers exploited her vulnerability, deliberately engineering impossible situations to squeeze out an emotional payoff. And the truth likely lies somewhere in between. What's undeniable is the impact of that moment. Kimmi's breakdown highlighted how essential emotional boundaries are, even in friendships. You can't be the fixer forever without eventually losing yourself in the process. For viewers who have found themselves stuck between feuding friends or family members, her tears hit home in a painfully relatable way. But here's the irony: the breakdown didn't resolve anything. Melody and LaTisha didn't suddenly reconcile. The feud didn't vanish overnight. If anything, the division between them became even more visible. Yes, there were words of sympathy, but those were fleeting. Before long, the familiar cycle of tension, shade, and conflict returned. And that's what left fans unsettled, asking the haunting question: was Kimmi's pain just another sacrifice demanded by the machinery of reality television? When the cameras cut away, the implications of Kimmi's emotional collapse ran far deeper than a single storyline. Her tears highlighted a universal truth: being the middle person comes with an invisible cost. On TV, that role may make for compelling footage. In life, it erodes emotional well-being, carrying the constant responsibility of balancing everyone else's conflicts, smoothing tensions, and absorbing the fallout isn't just exhausting, it's corrosive. Over time, it eats away at your sense of peace, your sense of stability, and, in many cases, your sense of self. Kimmi's breakdown became more than a dramatic television moment, it became a mirror. For viewers who've ever been caught between family members, friends, or even colleagues, her tears felt familiar. It's the experience of being pulled in two directions at once, of knowing that no matter what you do, someone will accuse you of betrayal. It's the endless pressure of being expected to fix problems you didn't create. And it's the heavy silence that follows, when you realize that your own needs and emotions are constantly being sacrificed for the sake of keeping the peace. That's why Kimmi's vulnerability struck such a chord. For once, she wasn't the calm negotiator, the rational voice, or the strong backbone of the group. She was simply a woman overwhelmed by the impossible weight of expectations. Stripped of her usual composure, she allowed the world to see what happens when strength has been stretched too thin, and in that act of openness, she reclaimed something powerful, her authenticity. The irony is that authenticity is what audiences crave most, even if they don't always realize it. Reality television thrives on conflict because arguments are easy to package and market. A feud can carry across multiple episodes, drawing in viewers eager to see what happens next. Producers know this formula works, but moments like Kimmi's breakdown reveal something producers can't manufacture: raw humanity. The tremble in her voice, the tears she fought to hold back, the exhaustion etched across her face, those were not scripted. They were real, and because they were real, they resonated in a way that no shouting match ever could. The response from fans underscored this truth. Social media was flooded with reactions, not just about Melody and LaTisha, but about Kimmi herself. Some people saw themselves in her, remembering times when they too had been the mediator in their families or friend groups, silently breaking under the weight of unspoken expectations. Others expressed frustration, not at Kimmi, but at the culture of the show itself, arguing that producers intentionally exploit emotional cracks for entertainment. Still others reflected on the broader message, that strength doesn't mean holding it all in. Sometimes, strength means admitting that you've reached your limit. This duality, the tension between entertainment and exploitation, is what makes Kimmi's breakdown so significant. On one hand, it gave audiences the kind of unforgettable moment that reality TV thrives on. On the other, it forced viewers to confront uncomfortable questions. At what point does a storyline cross the line from entertainment into harm? How much emotional damage is acceptable for the sake of ratings? And is it fair to expect someone like Kimmi, who never sought out conflict in the first place, to carry the burden of other people's battles just because it makes for good television? These questions go beyond love and marriage, Huntsville. They tap into a larger conversation about reality TV as a whole. Over the years, countless shows have centered on conflict because drama sells. Viewers tune in not for harmony, but for explosions, confrontations, and the spectacle of relationships falling apart. Yet what Kimmi's moment proved is that there's another kind of draw, one rooted not in chaos, but in truth. Audiences are moved when they see someone being real, even when that reality is painful. And perhaps that's why her breakdown matters so much. It wasn't just about Melody or LaTisha. It wasn't even just about Kimmi herself. It was about the universal truth that peacemakers are often the ones who suffer the most in silence. They are the ones absorbing tension, smoothing over cracks, and sacrificing their own needs so others can stay afloat. For a while, they may succeed. They may appear strong, calm, and collected. But eventually, the cost shows. And when it does, the collapse can be devastating. In Kimmi's case, that collapse unfolded under bright lights and rolling cameras, in front of millions of people. But in homes around the world, the lesson translated on a personal level. How many viewers realized they too had been playing the role of peacemaker in their own lives? How many recognized that they were bending themselves out of shape to keep others happy, at the expense of their own mental health? This is why Kimmi's breakdown, painful as it was, carried so much weight. It wasn't just another scene, it was a cautionary tale. A reminder that everyone, even the strongest among us, has a breaking point, and that constantly prioritizing others' peace over your own eventually leaves you empty. And yet, within that pain was also a kind of power. By allowing herself to break in front of the cameras, Kimmi gave herself permission to stop being perfect. She showed that vulnerability is not weakness, it's truth. In that moment, she reclaimed her voice. No longer was she just the calm negotiator or the silent supporter. She was human, fragile, and real. And in that raw honesty, she connected with audiences in a way no producer could script. That's the ultimate irony of reality TV. The moments that stick, the moments that matter, are not the ones carefully engineered for shock value. They're the ones that can't be manufactured. A fight can be staged, a storyline can be extended. But authenticity, true, unfiltered authenticity, is rare. And when it appears, it cuts through everything else. Kimmi's tears reminded us of that truth. They showed that behind every storyline is a person with real emotions, real struggles, and real limits. They reminded us that entertainment should never come at the cost of someone's humanity. And most of all, they revealed that sometimes the strongest act is not holding it all together but finally letting go. So where does this leave Kimmi and the group as a whole? That remains uncertain. Melody and LaTisha's feud shows no signs of disappearing, and the cycle of conflict will likely continue. But what's undeniable is that Kimmi's breakdown shifted something. It forced fans, cast members, and even producers to look at the toll constant drama takes, not just on the people directly involved, but on the ones caught in between. Perhaps her tears will be remembered as just another dramatic chapter in an endless saga. Or perhaps they will be seen for what they truly were, a turning point. A reminder that even in the world of reality television, there are limits. And when those limits are crossed, the cost isn't just another storyline, it's someone's spirit.